But we're gonna keep this rolling because I know that we've got a lot to talk about, and looks like some people are coming over. You guys can jump in the chat, ask questions. Jen, Cam, Nick, Sean, appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys jumping over. So Joey and I, we got together earlier and we're like, we are in the midst of a lockdown, right? We are especially more than ever in this kind of just digital maze of communication. And obviously I'm like, Joey is the video whiz. We gotta talk about this. How can us as real estate professionals really leverage video more so than ever today to drive branding, brand awareness, conversations, top of mind? I mean, you got to think about it, Joey. Everybody and their mother is all captive right now, right?
Right. Yeah, you couldn't have a more captive audience than what you have right now. I mean, everybody is finding out what the next best thing to do is because you're all just trying to find the next thing to do. And I don't know if there's a next best thing. It's just the next thing. And we don't know how long we're going to be here. It could be another week or two, could be another month or two. So really, this is an amazing time, probably the best time you'll ever have to not just go about your business, but truly grow your business.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, oh, I'm too busy. I got stuff going on, and that's great. But think about right now, right here, right now, spend time with your family, do all those things that you've been wanting to do, read your favorite book that you've been holding off finishing. But this is a great time to really rally around what you got and figure out what you're missing so you know how to fill those gaps.
So, and that's a great point. So let's talk about that. Why is now, we kind of touched it, but why is now more important than ever to be utilizing video for your brand, for your business as a real estate agent, anybody in real estate really? Why is it more important than ever? Let's talk about that.
Well, you've probably been beat over the head by this for several years now, but the truth is video is growing. It's not going anywhere. You actually have more opportunities now to produce video than you've ever had before, whether that be from an affordability standpoint. Equipment is by far more affordable now than it's ever been. Way more options now to capture really good content. And it doesn't always have to be 4K sparkling video with all of these filters and edits and transitions. And it just needs to be good enough quality that your audience will appreciate it.
I love that, Joey.
You don't have to go any deeper than that.
Right. I think that so many people get caught up in trying to produce high quality intent video, which now it's just so accepted to literally just pick up your phone, press record, and start talking and creating content. That we don't need a production studio anymore. People just want to see your face and see the vulnerable you. I want to just talk real quick too. I love these stats that came out just a couple of weeks ago, but we all know that viewers retain 95% of a message when they watch it, right? So we know that when we're doing a video, we're going to have an even more captive audience. But there is this study that just came out. So video ads were the #1 way consumers discovered a brand they later purchased from. I find that fascinating. And the other thing too is that the average retention rate of personalized video is 35% higher than non-personalized. So we know two things: that people trust video to make intent buying and servicing decisions. And when we're vulnerable and showcasing ourselves, we're going to have a higher retention and conversion rate in communication.
Yeah, there's no better time to be vulnerable right now. I mean, you're at home, you're with your family, probably with some of your closest friends, keeping 6-foot social distance. But what a great time to show who you really are at home. Take that makeup off, get rid of the suit, like show who you really are. Be vulnerable, be real, be authentic. That's what people truly relate to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other stat that I just found quite shocking, and you typical Perkins, you've fully laid out in great detail the really hearty stats that you put together. The one that I was shocked by, 1 in 5 videos on Facebook is live broadcast.
Live broadcast.
Here we are.
Maybe that's
not
why
today. Other than today, yeah. But
yeah,
that's
videos.
20%. That's shocking.
Yeah, and I think that because I think especially brands and businesses, they know that they can capture people's attention immediately, right? So when we go live, everybody gets a notification. It's what they found though is that the viewer rate of a live video has more intent because the viewer knows right off the bat that it's a vulnerable situation. So they're more inclined to watch it, right? So they know that it's kind of unexpected. It's like we're watching the unexpected, and that's what drives us into the content. And that's what's really powerful about live. And it's interactive. We can have conversations with the people we're engaging with, right? I wish we're having that right now on live video, but we're not. But that's one of the cool things about live. And I think that the brands that are winning on social with video are utilizing it the most because they see the benefit of it. And I think that's one strategy that us as professionals in real estate need to be leveraging. Like that should be part of our weekly strategy every week, is to go live and engage our viewers and our audience.
Yeah, you couldn't be more right. I mean, it is the time that you find yourself in a vulnerable state, and maybe you just say things that come off the top of your head. It's not something that's so scripted, and we'll get into that a little bit, that you should have bullet points, cover the general areas that you need to cover, but don't get so deep in the weeds that you start going sideways and get squirrel. You get distracted by something that you thought really that you wanted to make it a point of, but you lose your audience by trying to get so deep into your detail. Stay topical, and really reach people on an emotional level too. You're probably talking about something that other people can relate to or connect with. So really feed on what is going on around you. Not just literally around you, but what culturally is going on around you and how you can tap into that.
That's it. So let's dive into some topics we're going to talk about. And guys, if anybody watching right now, post your questions just in the comment box. We'd love to answer your questions around video and video strategy. But I want to dig into a few things with you, Joey, just to give some value to everybody out that's watching right now. We're going to be talking about how often we should post, where should we post, like how long should the videos be, what should I be posting. We're going to talk about content, which is going to be really cool takeaways, the type of technology we should be using for all of this. So we got some good stuff to talk about, but first, let me dive into just the very obvious. How often should we be posting videos, on social channels, on a daily, weekly, monthly? What does that look like in your perspective, Joey?
Well, I think you mentioned it earlier, but the consistency is key. So no matter what your schedule is, maybe it's one a day if you're really aggressive. Maybe it's one a week, maybe it's one a month, maybe even one a quarter. Really important to be consistent about that if you're going to be doing once a quarter, because I'm sure you can easily fall off of that one quarter and then you lose people. So being really consistent about it, whatever you can manage, right? I mean, like, don't over stress on making sure you hit every single post frequency, but it is important to be consistent. I mean, and then let people know if you can't post content that given time period, let people know this is what I'm working on. So people at least know that, okay, here's that cliffhanger. I'll wait until next week. Because he's got this going on, or she has this special event. She can't get to it this week. Unforeseen circumstances, things come up. But people should set that expectation early, because if you are going to be consistent about it, you want people to come back every time and watch your content and know that you have a certain rhythm about what you do. I mean, creatives can be a little disorganized sometimes. Things can get a little sideways if you consider yourself a creative. So it is important to stay on task and stay on message.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, that consistency is very key. There's an app I really like. It's called Notion, Notion. It's a calendar for your content. So it's free, you guys. Go to Notion. I think it's notion.com or notion.io. But it's a really cool way to organize your content for the week and for the month. And this way you're just keeping yourself accountable for what you need to be posting. And I think a lot of times, I get this question a lot. People are like, I don't want to annoy people, or I don't want to post too much. here's the cool thing about social media and video. The algorithm is so intelligent on Facebook and Instagram and in other channels as well, is that if your content is going to be showing up in the feed too much, they're going to remove it. They're going to set an AI driven cadence for your content, so it's not like just overkill in the feed. And it's all, at the end of the day, it's about user experience. It's all about user experience for these channels. It's not about marketing dollars, because if there's no users, there is no marketing dollars. So they want to provide a stellar user experience at the end of the day. Again, if you're posting once a day, cool, do it. You're not going to annoy people. And I get this question too. It's like, should, like, I don't want to be annoying people all the time. I'm going to be posting once a week, once a month. But I know people that are posting daily, and I still don't see their daily videos, because again, the algorithm's taking over and making sure that it's not just overkilling the news feed. So don't be afraid to even like be aggressive with your content strategy. If you're like, I'm just going to post daily, it's going to be a 30-second video of my thoughts around X. Don't be afraid of that. I would say go all in with that.
Yeah, and you may not see Tuesday's video post until Friday or Saturday,
right,
or something. Just because they're posting every day, it doesn't mean you're going to see it that day, right?
Yep, exactly.
The other thing I would say is that the Facebook and Instagram are gold right now. They're gold. They've been the gold standard for a while. But watch out for LinkedIn. LinkedIn, especially for real estate professionals, it has been a niche network for a while. And a lot of people just go there as like a resume site, but that's not so much the case anymore. LinkedIn is growing. I think they had 24% growth over the previous quarter, just in this last quarter of 2019.
Wow.
I hate to look at anything right now for what a company's growth is going to be for first quarter of 2020, just because of the obvious. But looking at the last quarter of 2019, that's a massive amount of growth.
Yeah, and one thing about LinkedIn too, Joey, is that the opportunity that exists on LinkedIn is really cool, because there's millions of users, but only a very small fraction are actually creating content on LinkedIn. Yeah. So if you are creating content on LinkedIn, you're going to stay at the top longer, because they need content in the news feed, right? So your piece of content will last, let's say on average, 72 hours on Facebook or LinkedIn, where it could last 10 days, 72 hours on Facebook and Instagram, where it could last 10 days on LinkedIn. Like, that's massive top of mind value, right? And especially driving those conversations. And just because you're not getting engagement on LinkedIn right now doesn't mean that it's still not going to be sticking to the top, because they know that most users on LinkedIn are lurkers at this point, but they're still seeing the content, and you're going to start to see more engagement as you post more content. Right. So that's a great point.
Yeah, and the people actually actively using LinkedIn have gone up. Yeah, they've had a high user rate for a long time, but are they actively using it? Are they spending their time there? That's where you see Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, these platforms that people spend a lot of time on. So that there's something to that. There's a reason why they do that. And a lot of that, quite frankly, is driven by video.
It is. Well, that's a good point. And I want to segue this into, so where should we be posting our videos, right? What are the platforms that we need to be paying attention to and spending our time on? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, a few things. I would say go where you are most comfortable first, okay? But really be paying attention to where your audience is. I mean, if they, and it might be something you're going to have to tweak over time. You're not going to know overnight, oh yeah, all my people are there. But if you dabble enough in 2, 3, or 4 different platforms, after a while, you start to get a really good feel for who is there, how much they engage with your content. Does your content make sense for that platform versus another platform? Mm-hmm. I would just say, yeah, go where you're, the low-hanging fruit, go where you are most comfortable first. Probably start with your Facebook or Instagram, and then build out from there where your audience is.
Okay, so what about TikTok? Everyone's talking about TikTok. Gary Vee's talking about TikTok. All the, everybody and their mother's talking about TikTok. What are your thoughts on TikTok? I mean, it's a video platform, right?
Yeah, it's a video. Maybe I'm starting to turn into an old fuddy-duddy, but at first I'm like, well, I don't know. And I'm a video guy, and I'm like, I don't know. With everything that's happened and everybody's kind of hanging out at home, and speaking of captive audiences, I'm going to throw throw my name in there, and I want to get into TikTok a little bit more and dabble with it. I think it's just fun. Again, going back to like being personal and vulnerable and showing your true colors and being authentic. Having some fun on TikTok, I think that can go a long way. Is it going to close any sales for you? I don't know. I think it's probably just a brand builder, a little bit of personality builder. Spend time there, dabble, have some fun with it, see where it takes you. Maybe your audience is there.
Yeah. And I think what you're saying too is that now is the time to experiment, right? We have time, right? Let's utilize that time to experiment on different channels and get used to these things. Just because TikTok is not, maybe that's not where all of your user base and audience is today. Give it 2 years and that could be completely different. So get used. Now is the perfect time to familiarize yourself with these other platforms.
Yeah, I'm not sure even if you jumped on board right now, if you would be considered an early adopter, right? I think they have enough users at this point. I think they're worldwide maybe 500 million active users or something already, which makes surprise some people. You have to consider, they're, I believe, a Chinese-based company. They do have probably a lot of users in Asia, but it is growing. It's growing really quickly, and hell, it's a lot of fun. So even if you do have some time to kill and you want to dabble a little bit, you want to lurk a little bit, TikTok's a fun place to do it.
Hey, anybody who's on the webinar too right now, if you're using TikTok, put your handle in the comment because we'd love to follow you and see what kind of content you're posting. I know a couple of agents playing in TikTok right now. Andrew Hirsch I see his content a lot, and what Andrew does is he'll actually post the video, create the video in TikTok, and then push it to his Instagram stories feed, which he's doubling up on his content, which is smart. And it's a good way to get used to the platform, which goes into my next question is, how can we, Joey, I think so many agents and so many professionals in the real estate industry are missing the boat on taking advantage of stories.
Yep.
Facebook stories and Instagram stories. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Instagram stories have a bigger foothold, I think, on people right now than Facebook stories. And I think that might be the place to win, though. I mean, Instagram stories are a little bit more established, that's obviously where it started. With all due respect, Snapchat actually, but Instagram, and I think Facebook could be a great opportunity for you to really develop your stories, assuming that you have quite a big follower base on Facebook as well, which you probably do. Stories, obviously, I mean, you're going straight to the top. You're going straight to the top between stories and going live, which we'll talk about a little bit in a minute. I mean, talk about attention that you're going to be getting there at the top of the page. People will see, and especially if you're consistent about it, going back to the consistency part, if you are consistent about your stories, you will constantly be at the top of people's newsfeed.
Yeah. And this is what the reason why I love stories so much too, Joey, is three things. One, it's one-to-one communication, right? So it's not a broadcast. So you're more likely to get responses from your audience through stories because they're not broadcasting their conversation in public. So it's one-to-one private conversation. So if you are creating stories with video, I always say, like, create a call to action at the end of that video, ask for feedback, ask for a response. You're more likely going to get that. And what do we say? Every sale starts with a conversation. So how many conversations can we start? Stories is a great place to do that. You also have 15-second segments on Instagram with video, which you have a long capture rate of somebody's attention. So if you are creating, a video about, let's say it's about, 5 things to do at, like, your 5 favorite board games, whatever.
People love lists. Yeah.
They love lists, right? So it's super, and we're going to talk about content in a second and how we utilize that for stories. But again, to your point, Joey, we have more active users now in stories on Instagram than actually in the newsfeed. That's only going to carry over to Facebook. So if we can start leveraging stories on Facebook more, we're going to see a lot more interaction. I'll give you one other piece, Joey, is that I started doing Facebook stories, I would say, like, 9 months ago, and I'd barely get any views. Like, I would get like 20 views. If I do a story now on Facebook, my views are almost of what Instagram is getting. It's crazy. So again, you have less users on Facebook stories, but more viewers, which we can take advantage of.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more in content, in detail on the content a little bit later. But whether it's a story, whether you're doing a produced piece of content, even if you're doing a live video. A lot of it has to do with captivating your audience, communicating why you're there, what the message is, and then connecting them. Whether it's just a brand connection and you want to make them aware of something, information, here, go to the CDC website to get more information on how to properly clean your hands, or like something like that. Or if you're connecting them through as a call to action from a sales perspective, and even better, if you can create that story, that timeline of, hey, here's who I am, here's what I'm doing, and then here's that call to action at the end that they didn't even necessarily anticipate. So it's not like you're trying to sell them through a story.
Right.
That's not the goal. Tell a story in your story, quite literally. And then if there is some action at the end, even better.
Yeah, that's it. I love that. And we're going to get into more content ideas in a second too, Joe, which I'm really excited to talk about. But you just mentioned it a second ago, and I get this question a lot. We know the answer to it. We kind of touched on it before, but should I be going live on Facebook and Instagram? What's your response?
Oh, I don't know. You put a proper response in here. I think hell yes was in all
Oh,
caps.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's easier said than done. I'll just say that right away. I'm not always the best at it. I noticed there's a photographer buddy of mine, Aaron Cropper. He's been going live a lot more. Of course, real estate agents wondering, what am I going to do? What's going to happen? And from just being on the other side of it as well, having a photographer buddy kind of being out there on the front lines saying, here's what I'm doing. I'm out shooting. I've got my, latex gloves on. I'm taking proper precautions, got Clorox wipes, all that stuff. I think that's great to see people out and about doing live video because, yeah, I mean, I get a push notification right away. It says Aaron Cropper's shooting a live video, watch it now. Really, there's very few, if any, other push notifications that you get like that allow that viewer to engage with you directly like a live video.
That's so right. And again, it's so many of us, I think we're scared of the live. We're scared of the live button because we're afraid of how people will think about us if we're going to screw up and stumble over our words and trip over ourselves. At the end of the day, and if you like, I say this all the time, but people care less about you than what you think they do. It's all about putting yourself out there. If we can put ourselves out there, we're going to win the brand game. Now, of course, we have that organization around our content, but people are going to expect you to trip over yourself, right? Fail, 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 and then get okay at it and then get better at it. The more times, the more reps we put out there, the better we're going to be. So it's really just about just go live. Hit the live button with a piece of content you want to talk about. It doesn't have to be a specific amount of time. It doesn't need to be 2 minutes. It doesn't need to be 30 seconds. The time limit should be how long or how relevant that content is going to be. So if you can say what you need to say in 15, 18 seconds, then that's how long you're going to go live for, right? If you can have a long form conversation, it's going to be 5 minutes, and that's going to be how long you're going to go live for, right?
Yep.
At the end of the day, it's about pushing the live button and putting reps behind it to get better at it. Because once we do, it's anything that we do in life that makes us, that we take chances on, that allows us to get better. Once we start doing this, we're going to start winning that game, and we're going to start winning the competition, and we're going to start winning eyeballs, right? That's how we're going to win that game.
Right. I don't think that there's necessarily a clearly defined strategy in live video quite yet. It is still so new that, to your point, like kind of Nike approach here, just do it. And have maybe some outline of more or less what you want to get out. Like, don't just go live for the sake of going live necessarily, but if there is enough freedom right now, creative freedom in going live with your video, that maybe your approach is talking to people, not with people. And that's fine. But maybe you do want to be more interactive. Maybe you want to get out your 20-second spiel and say, what do you guys think? Oh, hey, Sally, great. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Oh, there's Mark on the line. Oh, thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. Yeah, like that sort of thing. I love that interaction that people get through live video that you truly don't get anywhere else.
The other thing too, Joey, is, I always ask this question: how can we relate with our audience the most? And the best way to do this is through relevancy, right? And we talked about vulnerability a lot. And I think that's so important when we're doing live video, is that how are we creating a meaningful connection with our audience that they can relate with, right? So if you're having kind of a shitty day, talk about it. If you're having a win for a day, talk about it. If you're like sharing a really cool recipe that you think everybody at home that's in like locked in their house right now would absolutely love, and it's a fun way to like interact with their family, talk about it. Like that's the, like, it's the things that we relate with. Why do Joey and I, we connect, is because we have a lot in common, and we're super just authentic with each other. And that's how we're going to win with live video at the end of the day. I see Chris Sauerzoff from World Class Title. He goes live a lot. We're obviously good friends with Chris. And what I love about what Chris does is that he's who he is. He's not putting on a mask. He's being his authentic self, but he's also giving value at the same
Yeah.
time. I think
Yeah.
that's the most attractive point about live video and content.
Yeah, I think it's twofold too. Yeah, it's absolutely being relevant, and it is being a resource. And Chris, to your point about Chris, it's absolutely relevant, all of the content that he's putting out right now, and he surely is a resource for a lot of people, and not just real estate agents. He puts himself out there personally quite a bit,
Yep.
and he's a resource on a personal level. I know he's a resource for me, certainly on a personal level, not just a professional level. My wife's had several closings over the last week, and then coming up in the next week. And we do a lot of business with World Class Title. And how important is that you can make a phone call and you can reach out and ask somebody, what's going on? What's the story? Give me the update. And he can reach you on a professional level, but also a personal level. And that's really important to have. And another person I love to give a quick shout out to is our buddy Sean Simpson. And
Sean.
talking about being relatable, we see like day 7 of quarantine. I just saw his message come through. Day 7 of quarantine, and his wife Kim must have a lot of patience and must really love her husband very much. So I love it, man. That kind of comedy, that levity that we all need right now is very helpful to get through what we're all going through.
Yep, absolutely, Sean. Thanks for your content. So,
Yeah.
I want to move over because we're going to move off of live. We've got to keep this thing rolling, but I wish we could talk about live. And we should just do a whole segment on live, because I think there's just so much value in that
once
for
Facebook
us.
Live is working again. Yeah.
Right, once it's working. But so I want to talk about video length. And I think we get this question a lot, Joey, but for me and what I see and the best use cases out there is how long, the question, how long should videos be? It depends on the platform. So 3 things I want to point out. Facebook is a highway of content, right? It's just it's just going, right? It's just go. There's stories going, there's bells going, there's live going, there's newsfeed going, there's events going, right? There's like 1,000 different things happening on Facebook, and it's built for that. It's built for like quick hits, right? Of dopamine, just like boom, 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 boom. So I get like, should I be creating 10-minute length videos for Facebook? No, I don't think you should. Unless it's specifically scheduled and people are ready for that content, they're not going to watch the whole thing. So when people ask me like, how long should my content be on Facebook, my videos be, I say like, my rule of thumb is 90 seconds or below. If you're creating a video, we can't sustain attention longer than that on Facebook unless it's prepped. So we compare that to like YouTube, which is built for long form content. YouTube is built for people going and searching for specific criteria. So they're mentally preparing themselves for a longer conversation. When Facebook, we only have a very short amount of time to really get our point across in content. And if you're doing a 5-minute, 6-minute, 8-minute video on Facebook, your conversion to a full watch is going to be very limited. So again, same thing with Instagram. Instagram, again, it's a highway of content, but that's why they created IGTV, in which IGTV is doing phenomenally well in long form. If people want to continue to watch the long form, they can push to IGTV, which is brilliant on Instagram's point, because they know that the lifespan of attention is very short in the newsfeed. But if they want to continue watching, they can push it over to Instagram TV.
Yeah, Instagram's had this, I think, a little bit of a bugaboo for a while, where when it first launched, it was it was what made Instagram, which is, you know, these posts, they're very simplistic. These are still images. You know, they push off into video, but then the videos are limited at 60 seconds, which is a problem for many video producers. Okay, and then we have, we can do IGTV. So yes, you can do any length really through IGTV. I think the other workaround that people are interested in video is trimming your video. So if you want to keep that video to one post, but you haven't launched your IGTV yet, I know a little workaround is to trim a video by 60 seconds max. So you could have like a 2.5 minute video that'd be 60, 60, 30 in one post. Some workarounds there. I know Facebook encourages 3+ minute videos. You know, they want eyeballs as long as possible on Facebook. So of course they're going to promote 3 minute or longer videos. But to your point, is the attention span there on Facebook? I'm not really sure. I think in most cases you're right that the attention span, the expectation for viewing isn't quite there. They want it to be higher. Facebook Watch is growing in popularity. And people do get stuck there just swiping through, watching video after video on Facebook Watch. I do want to address Sean Simpson's question that did come in before we go too far into the length of video. And I want to get your takes on, he's asking Twitter Live, Facebook Live, Instagram Live. When it comes to live, would you spread it out or would you focus on the one? I know my take on this is I would just focus on Facebook. But if you're bigger on Twitter, I can't recall exactly if Periscope is still embedded with Twitter Live or if you can go native Twitter Live.
So yeah, that's a great question, Sean. One thing is there are, so Periscope, Twitter, Facebook, all of these live platforms, they all have open APIs for basically cross broadcasting. So there's actually some software out there where you can cross broadcast all the platforms at once, except for Instagram. Instagram doesn't have it yet. So Instagram, they want to keep that because it's the only platform that is mobile specific. So they want to kind of keep that isolated a little bit. And they're kind of building that on its own. So they don't have the open API to cross live broadcast. But to your question of where should I put my focus, it's where your audience is, right? If your audience is on Facebook, that's where you're going live. If your audience is on Instagram, that's where you're going live. You know, obviously we can see now that Instagram and Facebook are kind of becoming hand in hand in viewership. Like you could say 2 years ago that there was, you know, if you're 40 years old, then your audience is on Facebook. But now you can say that they're both on Facebook and Instagram. So you gotta, and then that's just where you gotta understand your avatar of what your audience looks like and where they're spending the most time. I would do an A/B test, Sean, and go, I'm going to do a live video on Instagram to see what kind of engagement I get, and I'm going to do a similar type live video on Facebook and see what kind of engagement I get. Keep the same, like measurements the same, so same time length, same type of content, topics, and see what kind of engagement you get. I think that's going to be a really good A/B test to see where you should be spending your time.
Well, and to your point earlier, even if you start with one and you're like, well, my audience isn't quite here yet, let that audience develop over time, and you know, you could see viewership dramatically increase.
Yeah, that's a great question, Sean. But I would say A/B test that. That's the best way to do it. But moving back over to length of time on platforms, I just want to reiterate, guys. Like, again, it's all about testing. But from what we see, you know, and what we study is that if you're on, I know Facebook's pushing those 3-minute videos, but we know that there's so many buttons going off on Facebook is that you're going to lose that attention quickly. And I also say during your videos, start at the 40-yard line, right? In your videos, you don't have to, hey, this is Jason and I'm with ABC Real Estate. Like nobody cares about that. They want to get to the value piece. So if you've got 5 seconds to hook somebody and grab their attention to get 5 more seconds, right? So in your videos, so important to be starting at the 40-yard line with your content. How are you going to hook them immediately to get 5 more seconds of their time? Because when they see that red bell go off in the top right-hand corner of Facebook, how is your content more important than that? And how are you going to sustain it, right?
Yep. Yeah, and think about the old, well, give me your elevator pitch. All right, well, how do you hook them, sell them, and tell them, right? Grab their attention,
Yeah.
sell them on why they needed this product or this service, and then tell them how to get it.
Yeah.
I mean, that should really be the basis of much of your content, even if it's not sales related. You're hooking them on a brand piece, because we can talk all day about creating brand content and creating sales content. And for me, they're two very different things. They can be interchangeable. They can blend a little bit, but really, I think the focus is: are you trying to build a brand and tell a story? Or are you trying to sell me on the benefits of a product or service and tell me how to get that product or service? Those should really be two very clear different things. Maybe you're building out a series of content. That'd be for brand in most cases, but maybe you've got a promotional piece that you've produced, and that's very sales oriented. So just really know, and we're starting to get into our net, and I feel like we're moving quickly, but not as quick as we should to get through our content. So I do want to focus on what I think is going to be the meat of the discussion, which is, what should I be posting right now?
Yeah, so important, right? I mean, this is the biggest question. This is the biggest hang up of why we don't post, is what to post. We don't want to offend people. We don't want to annoy people, but we still want to bring entertainment. We get all these questions that run through our head that we're like, I'm good. I'm not going to post anything. I don't have anything to talk about. You do, and people want to listen to you, right? And it's just same reason why you go have a conversation with somebody at a bar, at a party. They pay attention to you because it's engagement. Doesn't matter what the topic is, as long as it's content that is relatable to your audience. So let's talk about this. First question I have for you, Joey: should I be posting about what's happening right now, COVID-19 and the coronavirus? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think any piece of content really, I mean, it's right now is so sensitive, very, very sensitive time for folks, understandably so. A lot of us didn't know exactly what was going on, what was happening, and a lot of us were, I don't know if we stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night, but all of a sudden, all of us thought we were doctors. And we know what's best for what we should be doing and who we should be talking to, and maintaining business as usual. I know a lot of people got some flack a lot of realtors got flack for saying, hey, look, we're essential, business as usual. And it's not business as usual. It is business, but there's nothing usual about it. So if this is something that affects people differently. I would say it is important to be a resource, to be a selfless resource. Again, going back to guys like Chris Sauersoff, plenty of agents. Jamie Mays, great realtor. Really impressed by her message that she put out about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, when a lot of this stuff was just unfolding, and a lot of people, quite frankly, weren't quite taking it that seriously. I really enjoyed her heartfelt message of community and coming together, and we're all good here, but if we can help you in any way, we want to help our neighbors. I love that. I love that sort of stuff.
That's great.
I had in my notes, you always want to educate, entertain, inspire, inform, reward. I mean, these are things that you should be doing in your content, but right now, first and foremost, inform and educate the people around you, because there are plenty of people that are still unfortunately left a little uneducated about this entire dilemma that we're going through right now. And news is changing every day. Seemingly every day news is changing. And I loved what you said too about just some different content ideas. If in a minute, if you want to get into content ideas, because I know there are a lot of people that are struggling with, well, if I'm not posting specifically about COVID-19, like what else can I be posting about in these times?
Yeah. Well, I think too, Joey, is that we can all feel very isolated and alone right now. And to your point about how can we provide value around what's happening in our communities and in our world right now is how can we inform the uninformed? So these questions that they're having, how can we bring information, right? Because again, we have new stuff coming out every single day, but how is this reflecting specifically our industry? I think from a value perspective, I think that's incredible that we can provide those updates to our neighbors, to our community, of how it's affecting our housing industry. So that's where we need to be connecting from. I think that's where we need to be connecting from the situation with the coronavirus, is how can we provide value uh, to our community around our industry. All right. But then when it comes down to content ideas, there's so much stuff that's happening in our lives right now. Because I said, we're all feeling isolated and some of us are feeling very alone. So how do we take the mentality of somebody who's struggling at home, right? Look at the avatar of your people. What are they like? Do they have kids? Are they married? Like, are they like in suburbs? Are they out in the city? Take that, whatever story they're telling themselves, whatever story they're living, how can we create content around that? Put yourself in the shoes of your client. What are they thinking and what are they feeling? And now we create content. So for instance, like, I would be creating content around maybe Netflix reviews, top shows on Netflix. Oh my gosh, the Big Cat documentary. Yes, I don't care. Go watch it. It's amazing. That is like the most entertaining show. Have you watched it yet?
Yes, I just watched it. Yeah.
It's so good. But anyways, like, we're sitting in front of our TVs, like at night, we're on Facebook and we're on Netflix. Majority of us are there. So how can you bring entertainment to that? So we've got our top Netflix reviews. That's just something I would be doing. If you have kids, like talking about craft ideas for your children, what can you be doing? Baking cookies, like putting crafts together. Like, I was just doing something with my daughter Joey yesterday. I'm like, man, I need to like tell people about this. We were creating, we had all the different animals of different cookie cutters, and we were creating all the different animals, and we were talking about the animals. And so it was like educational and kind of fun at the same time, but little things like that we can be doing. And where to get those. So we talked about, like, we order these off of Amazon, and they're like educational cookie cutter animals that, again, just drive conversation. But again, like, what are things that, how can we get out of the house? So, best parks for a stroll, fun recipes for the family. Board games are so popular right now. What are your favorite board games? Home improvement ideas. Like, we're sitting at home, go do some home improvement. How can you be, and then us as educators, like, how can we be providing that value to our audience?
Yeah, and we get so caught up in what we do every single day, and a lot of our peers are used to seeing, our professional selves. But when you kick the shoes off at the end of the day, like, what is that person truly interested in? I may work with them on a deal, I may see them at different events, but like, how are they on a human level? Are there things that we can relate to on a more personal level that connect us? That's so much deeper. And I feel like the real estate community is kind of unique in that way, that we are all in this together, whether you're a lender, a realtor, photographer, whatever. I mean, if you are part of, and that's quite frankly why real estate was named an essential business, is because there are so many different people involved in the process.
Yeah.
Hell, I love the idea of like just seeing people learn a new skill.
Yeah.
Show us what you're doing with this newfound free time that you have. Yes. I would love to see people learn. Oh, I play guitar, or I love doing that too. That's great. Another thing I love seeing from people is right now, people coming together, posts of gratitude, and whether that be like you writing a greeting card and sending that off to somebody, you sharing a one-to-one message with someone, you publicly posting something about how great someone is at something, and you've never really had the time to do that before, and now you do have the time. You have that time to sit back and truly take scope of what you have in your life and appreciate the things that are right there in front of you that you don't always see and sometimes take for granted.
That's so good. Post of gratitude, man. That's something that we always think about. We hear about it, but we get lost because our days are so busy. And like you said, now is the time to really take a step back and think about those people in your life that you can share gratitude for. And again, you can turn that into content. Like, what are you grateful for today in this kind of crazy time? Let's talk about that, because you're going to drive this right here, which is connection with people and your audience. I like you also put like your favorite books, right? And podcasts. Like, these things are just great ideas, again, to drive the purpose behind this content and videos, to drive conversation and relevancy, right? So again, where your people, put yourself in the shoes of your clients. What are they thinking, talking, and feeling right now? And again, create the content around that. So again, from a content calendar perspective, go to Notion, Notion, and start filling out content for the month around how your audience is feeling and what story they're telling themselves.
Yeah, and if you feel, if like you mentioned before, if you're feeling a little alone or isolated, there are all sorts of ways to reach out. I know we're social distancing and everything else, but with technology, I mean, there are all sorts of ways. Hell, just pick up a phone. All different ways to talk with public officials. Maybe it's through Twitter. Talk with your local business owners. Those restaurants that are really trying to promote the carry-out only options that they have. Grocery stores. What supplies are they down this week, and how can maybe different local groups help with supplies in grocery stores or other resources where you can get supplies. Different relief groups. Talk to your neighbors if you can. Like, what's going on in the hood? What's
Yep.
everybody up to? What
Yep.
anxiety do people feel? How can
Awesome.
you be a resource? How can you add value to their everyday life? Not from a professional standpoint, but from a personal standpoint.
I love that. I love that. All right, I want to keep it moving because again, if you guys want to, we can send even out a content calendar out for everybody to get your gear started and start posting this content. But at the end of the day, there is thousands of content topics. It's just about pushing the go button, right? And allowing yourself to be vulnerable and pushing the content out, not judging yourself. That's how we're going to drive this, and that's how you're going to get better. So, but I want to ask this question. Because business has stalled a little bit, should we be running ads, and specifically video ads, out there in the market? What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, going back to the topic of conversation at the very beginning was just how captive your audience is right now. So if you're talking about return on your investment, like everybody who's spending money as an expense, right? You're spending money in marketing. What is the return on that investment? If most of the time, if it's a brand piece, I really wouldn't be looking too hard at your ROI. But if you do have a specific sales piece of content, ROI is paramount. And you have the most captive audience you're probably ever going to have on social media right now. So if you're considering ads, I would run them. I would be a little bit careful on how much you push the sale. And versus how much just value you add to a conversation or information that you are disseminating. But I would absolutely be considering ads right now. If you've ever been on the fence, now's the time to get over it.
Yep, brand ads, baby. That's the nail on the head, brother. That is it. Right now, you have everybody's attention. And if I want to get my brand out to more people right now, where they're spending, a stat just came out, they're spending 3 times the amount on social media than they were a month ago. 3 times. I have 3 times the amount of attention and captive audience than I did a month ago. Yep. If I have the resources to do it, even $5 a day, I would be posting branded, value-added video ads to communities and neighborhoods that I'm a part of. So for instance, what does that look like, Joey? If let's say I've got a video on my top 5 favorite home improvement projects during a lockdown. That would be a branded video that I would put money behind and target, let's say, all of Dublin. If I work in Dublin as most of my audience, I'm going to publish that to Dublin. I'm not going to get leads out of it. I'm going to get brand awareness out of it. And that's what matters most right now, is awareness, right?
Yep. Yeah, I would say under normal circumstances, when you're looking at your statistics, I would try as best you can when it comes to reach, your audience reach, to strike a 50-50 balance. Like you never really, now if you're really top heavy on organic reach versus paid reach, great. I mean, you're cranking out some high quality content that people truly connect with, that you don't have to spend the extra dollars on. But I would always be looking at, try to get as close to 50-50. I'm not sure you're feeling on this, but I would always try to get as close to 50-50 when you're looking at your reach, paid versus organic. Again, right now though, I don't know that it really matters. I'd really just be shooting out as much content as possible.
Yeah, and I would, again, if your content, again, look at your content calendar. What content is good for your existing audience? What content could be useful for your potential new audience, right? So you can actually run it both, content to both. I would, through your business page, I would post the content, put a boost around it, create a target audience around that boost. Now I've got a new audience over here. At the same time, I would be posting that content on my personal profile to all my friends and family. All right, and let's say it's a video again about 5 home improvement topics that's going to be relevant to your audience. I would do it on both personal and business. Put, you know, $20 behind it on the business, target Dublin, Westerville, wherever, UA, New Albany, and start getting some brand awareness around this. Start building, right, your awareness at this time, because again, you have more than ever in the history of social media, you literally have the most captive audience you could possibly imagine. I'm not saying take advantage of this, but put yourself out there where you can start driving new awareness around who you are. But
Yep.
to your point, I wouldn't be doing, you know, obviously direct lead ads, direct lead capture to try to get people to sell. People aren't thinking about that right now, right? But they are thinking about where can I get value? These questions that I have every single day, I'm bored out of my freaking mind, right? They're gonna pay attention to your content if it's relevant.
Yeah, and a lot of content should just, this is just common sense, I'm sure, but right place, right time, and especially during sensitive times, let's make sure it's the right time to be posting certain things, the right kind of content. Obviously, again, this is a pretty sensitive time for folks, so
Yep.
let's not make it pushy or salesy. Let's not close the deal. Let's just start a conversation.
That's great. Start a conversation. That's the name of the game. Okay, so I want to talk about video best practices. I know we've covered some of these topics in this conversation, but first off, like I said, most of our videos, especially for the social content platforms, because these platforms are highways of content, should be less than 90 seconds. Okay, because again, our audience isn't seeking out our content the time that we put it out. Again, if you're doing long form content, YouTube is your game. If you're doing long form content that you're pushing from short form to long form, Instagram TV is the name of the game. And to your point, Joey, you mentioned earlier, if you're splicing up content, you can do that by doing 60-second buckets for Instagram and doing 3 different basically tag posts. But I will say this, 85% of video is watched without sound. 85%. So if we're creating video, we've got to be putting captions on our content. Now, this sounds very daunting to a lot of people. They're saying, oh my gosh, I just recorded this video and now I've got to go through and type out everything I just said. Technology, guys, you don't have to do that. Technology exists. So I'll get into some of my favorite apps in a second. We'll get into some of our favorite apps, but one app that I absolutely love for captioning your video is called Mix Captions. It's for iOS and Android. It's called Mix Captions. Just go to the Play Store, go to iOS, type in Mix Captions. You basically, it's based on credits. It's very cheap though. It's very cheap. For $5, you can caption, I think, 5 videos. So it's totally worth it. Again, most people are not watching your video with sound because they've got the TV on or they've got kids screaming in the background or whatever. Again, they're also not seeking out your content, so they're not prepped for it. That's another reason why videos are not watched without sound. So making sure that you're putting those captions on your video is crazy important.
Yeah, and make sure that the visuals are there as well. Like, make people want to hit that unmute button. Make sure that they can see your mouth moving, that you're conveying a message, that there's energy about your message. Oh yeah, I'm going to unmute that because I'm interested in what he's actually talking about or what she has to say. Well, yeah, obviously you want it to be intriguing enough to the people actually click that button. The other thing I would say too is just we're going back to a little bit again about what we've talked about, but the connection part. Having that face-to-face conversation, make it feel face-to-face. Making sure that you're talking through the lens and not to the lens, because you want to engage the people around you. It's almost like you're, people who get nervous and people ask me all the time, well, I'm so bad at this. I get so nervous when I'm on camera. Well, I'm just one of your friends. Just talk to me like I'm one of your friends. Be casual, but not unprofessional.
Yeah.
Know what you want to say. This isn't, a 2 a.m. conversation after 8 or 9 beers. Like, be concise about your message. But at the same time, like, you don't have to be a robot. And you also don't have to be afraid, because people will sense that. So even if it's hitting the record button, on your phone, knowing that that video will never go anywhere. But just that you are seeing yourself, maybe you've got a mannerism about you on camera that you're like, well, you know, if I do this a lot, that would be nice to work that out, get that little manner, the ums, the uhs, the looking away, you know, things like that that can be a distraction for people. Try to finesse those things. You don't have to change who you are. Be who you are. But just on video, be the best version of.
Joe, I've got a question for you when it comes down to eyes with video. Where like I see a lot of people, I see a lot of videos, you know, they're kind of looking all over the place. And you talked about that intimacy piece of connection with the audience. Do you feel like we should, I mean, like, what are your thoughts on how do we drive the most intimate connection with our audience when it comes down to our eyes when we're shooting video?
I think that comes down to the person and what people expect from you. And just be who you always are in person. Don't put on your camera face. I would say it definitely helps with engagement if you're speaking direct to the lens. Now, me being on a webcam here, the screen's a little bit lower here when I'm seeing you, makes it a little bit difficult. My eyes are probably a little bit all over the place. What I think about is when I talk to people, is this interview style or is this direct to camera? There are plenty of cases where I'm doing, now we're talking about, in most cases, kind of a professional setup here. But yeah, I mean, if you're having a question and answer, if it's presumed that this is a question and answer setup, yeah, interview. Interview is going to be slightly off camera that you're looking. But in these social media settings, you really should be directly engaged to the audience in front of you and speak to them because they want to feel like, oh, Jason's talking to me at home.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. I agree with that. I think that's how, you know, we're going to drive more of a connection looking directly into it. What about lighting? As you can see, I've got some really nice stripes going on.
Yes.
Is this ideal lighting right here?
Yes. This is not studio lighting. This is natural preferred lighting, quite frankly.
What are best practices when it comes down to lighting? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, let it, so I have windows behind my computer this direction, so I'm facially lit. So you want to have that front-facing light. Being backlit usually will blow out the background and blur features in your face. It's generally not very complimentary to one's skin tone or facial features. So I would certainly recommend front-facing light.
So basically shooting,
or if maybe you have artificial lighting, but yeah.
so what if you don't have good natural light? Like what if you're in a bedroom that doesn't have like any open windows? Do you have suggestions on lamps or types of lights that they can use to not kind of overkill the video or bring too much yellow into the shot? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we're getting into color temperature here. You know, some different things. I mean, if you want to have whatever so everybody's skin tone's different. So that will vary, you know, whether you want a warmer light or a cooler light, more yellow or more blue. You're talking about maybe more diffused light. So yeah, like a lamp. Most people are used to a lamp. A lampshade diffuses that direct light. And you don't want direct light. You do want your light to be a little diffused, so it's not so harsh on you. Okay. It adds more of an ambiance, a little more of a glow, more or less, to your lighting. Do you have any specific preference? Some people like the, oh shoot, what are they called? Why am I forgetting it? The circle, the ring light. Some people
the
like
ring lights.
Ring lights are pretty popular. They're very affordable. So if you do need light, if you don't have good natural lighting in your house or your office or wherever it is that you shoot, buy $100 ring light. You can change how bright it is. You can change color temperature. You can add filters on your light to diffuse it. So buy $100 ring light.
Got it. I think that's a great idea. What, they're like $10 on Amazon, right?
Or yeah, whatever. I mean, you can find them pretty cheap. Yeah.
Cool. All right. I want to talk into just kind of just as we kind of close this out, some pre-production tips, you know, things to remember and talk about and think about as we're creating these videos. Some of this stuff is going to be just bullet points of some of the things that we talk about. But first thing is like figuring out who is the video for, who's your ideal audience, who's the avatar. That's who you're going to be speaking to in the video. The other thing I want to point out though is to bullet point your topics, right? I never ever, and you agree with this too, Joey, is that we should not be scripting out everything we're talking about. If it sounds like we're reading, then we're going to lose the authenticity piece with our audience, right? So I always say, bullet point out the topics you want to talk about and let that flow.
Yeah. Unless you're the president of the United States and you need a teleprompter,
Yeah.
I do not advise reading from a script, because what do most people hear on the other side? A script.
Script.
And you lose that genuity, you lose that authenticity, that realness when you're reading from a script. So then again, everyone is a little bit different. Some people, no script, complete improv. What's the subject? Record, go. I mean, that's pretty rare. I think most people are going to fall under your category, your preferred category of bullet pointing. My favorite thing is when people are trying to remember and going back to, I have just a little tiny experience in talent work and doing some commercial work. The hardest thing for me is to remember my full script. So my dialogue. So what easiest thing for me is to remember the first few words of a paragraph, maybe the entire first sentence of a paragraph. And I know if I have that first sentence down, the rest of it for me flows. But it's that first, because that's what happens to a lot of people. Like they get think of like a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah.
Say if it's a listing video. I'll use my wife as an example. Hi, this is Jess Thomas with CRT Realtors, the Thomas Ricardo team. This house is blah, blah, blah. Hey, let's go take a look. So there's always that like, hi, I'm Jess.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm here for. Mm-hmm. Here's how you get connected, or whatever that transition is. Like, check out the video, or contact me for a scheduled showing, or something like that.
Got it. Cool. I like that. Yeah. Back to those tips. Authenticity is the name of the game here, like we just talked about. Like you just said, Joey, don't be reading directly from a script. Get your bullet points, get your topics, maybe chunk it into 3 different buckets and drive it from there. I always say this too. I get this question a lot. How do I shoot? Should I be shooting vertical or should I be shooting horizontal? So my answer to that is it depends on the platform. Facebook and LinkedIn, for whatever reason, still prefer, even though it is mostly used on mobile, still prefer, a horizontal shape in their video. I don't know why, but that's from their reviews and from their feedback is that people still prefer horizontal videos on Facebook and LinkedIn, whereas Instagram is vertically preferred. Even Instagram TV, you can only you can upload horizontal, but it's preferred. You get more space when you shoot vertical on Instagram. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I agree. People ask that a lot. I think generally, wider is the landscape. Landscape's typically better. Look at every TV that you have. I know it's maybe not a direct, relatable comparison, but to be safe, go wide. If you're using it specifically for social media, go vertical. And I love those for the more like intimate, direct eye contact type videos, live videos, obviously, stuff like that you are expected to be a little bit more vulnerable, a little bit more personal. I love that for that. Hey, we'll go right in the middle, square. Like if you can shoot and format it for square video. Now, when you're shooting wide, you're going to lose a lot on the sides. Just know that already. If you had something that's, that 10, 20% side of your shot, know that you're going to lose that when you cut it square. But it also allows for easy formatting for anyone watching on mobile, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, whatever. If it's square, it's going to be easier for them to digest, I think, because it's multi-format. And a lot of people are, quite frankly, really used to square video by now.
Yeah, they are. And I think that there's some really cool apps we're going to talk about here in just 1 second that will allow you to just automatically format your videos to square or format to the video where you're going to be placing that video. Because obviously, if you're making a video for stories, it's got to be vertical, right? It has to be vertical. So let's talk about some of our favorite apps real quick. Mobile editing apps, again, for formatting for the right platform. Some of my favorite out there are Video Shop. It's like, I think it's $2, $1.99 a month. It's fantastic. It'll format your videos directly for the platform that you're playing on. You can add emojis, you can add background music, you can add voiceovers, you can add filters. It really is I love Video Shop. The other one that I really like is InShot. It's a little bit more social media specific as far as like colors, filters, emojis, and that kind of stuff.
All sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But Video Shop and InShop are my two favorite editing apps specifically for social media. Do you have any other ones that you like, Joey?
Well, now I'm an Apple user, so I do like my native Apple apps like iMovie. If people have that, if they have an iPhone, they have iMovie. And then the way I use Final Cut Pro for my professional editing, and it makes it super easy to push like quick little phone videos over to a more professional software system. But Adobe Spark, I try to. There are several smaller companies. Moldiv is an app that I really like. That's great for still, whether it be photos or graphics. But they've also now incorporated their video lab, so you can edit videos as well inside it. But I like Apple's iMovie. I like Adobe Spark, a lot of it for animation. So not just your typical like shoot a movie and produce it, but the social animation. So you get graphics out of that, and then GoPro Rush. So these bigger companies, they're trying to make these easy to edit apps that people can use, even if you're a newbie, you're a beginner. And then what's great about them, just like I was talking about earlier, what Apple has done is made a beginner software that you can easily move into a more advanced software. Adobe has Spark. Of course, they have Premiere Pro as well, so you can push what are beginner level videos. You can scale. You can graduate, if you will. Maybe, iMovie is good, but Final Cut Pro is a lot better. So if you want to go there, Adobe Spark is good, but if you graduate to Premiere Pro, great. GoPro obviously is known for all of their action cameras, and maybe you just went skiing down the slopes, and you don't want to export footage over to this and do all this stuff, and just do it right in your GoPro. And GoPro's a great thing too. Just if you buy a little GoPro, hook it up, maybe put it on the table at your open house. I know open houses right now are a little bit no-go. But whatever, you can do so many things with a GoPro and just hit record and let it run and do a time lapse. But yeah, those are a few that I like.
The one more I want to mention is just called Magisto, Magisto. It might be, yeah, I think it's Magisto. Anyways, it's really for anybody who is not technical, really is like, kind of overwhelmed by editing video. It's an AI-driven editing app, so it basically does a lot of the editing for you. But anyways, really cool app. There's a lot of cool filters. Again, it makes it very, very easy on the end user. So I like that one for anybody who's kind of like technically not very savvy. That's a good one to go to. Closed captioning, I talked about earlier. Mixed captions is my favorite. Another one is called Add Subtitles. Does a very similar thing. But one you've probably seen before is where you have two bars, right? You've got a bar at the top, bar at the bottom, and you can put words at the top and the bottom. I think those are really effective in driving the topic of the conversation, and actually, like, for whatever reason, drives a lot of eyes depending on how you build those. And I get that question a lot, like, how do I build that, right? How do I get a bar at the top, bar at the bottom with words that what I'm talking about? So there's an app called Video Meme, right? Video Meme, which allows you to import your video and add bars at the very top and the bottom and create call to action words at the very top and bottom. It's a paid app, but if you're into driving that type of engagement, I think it's a really, really cool app to drive that engagement. Andrew asked, are we going to be putting these recommendation notes in we're going to be posting everything in the event, Andrew, for you guys to have as well.
Yeah, and I do, while we're on viewer questions, I would like to answer. I'd love to get your answer on this one. Best follows, this is from Mike Limeister, our buddy Limey. Best follows in the real estate industry, do a great job with video. Who inspires us?
Ooh, well, you inspire me.
No, come on. Real answer. I like, I like Scott Euler out of Cincinnati with Coldwell Banker. He does a really good job. I've shot quite a few videos with Paula Gilmore, the Kuntz team, and I know that she is she likes to glean some things if she can from Scott out of Cincinnati. I know Sean Simpson is really close with him as well. Some other folks. So I like what Scott Euler does in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I like locally Jennifer Kesselwhite and LKW Home Team. They're on it when it comes down to video branding, their content. Pay attention to their content because when we talk about content types, they're just on it. Like they're interviewing local business owners, they're being vulnerable, they're showcasing their personal side with business. Like it is absolutely perfect, and they're utilizing it and they're using some cool animations and apps to really make it a splash in the news feed. They just get it. So, and then Andrew Hirsch is coming out. He's like really, really adopted video into his brand. Like I said, he's even bringing TikTok into the Instagram feed to drive that engagement, entertainment. Those are two I really, really like. Obviously, our friends at World Class Title, those guys always do a fantastic job with video. Sean Simpson, you do a great job. Andrew, I want to point out, Andrew Robinson, who's on this webinar, if you want to see somebody who's really leveraging the LinkedIn algorithm, is Andrew. Andrew posts a lot of his listings and walkthroughs and virtual walkthroughs on LinkedIn. And when you talk about the algorithm, every time I log into LinkedIn, I see Andrew's videos at the top because LinkedIn loves video and they love content, and he's really, really leveraging that. So if you are on LinkedIn, make sure you connect with Andrew Robinson and see what he's doing with video on LinkedIn. Doing a really great job.
Yep. Agree completely. Yep.
Um,
yeah, I had the pleasure of shooting with Andrew recently at one of his properties, and I like his style. I I can see how he could be owning LinkedIn. Yep.
That's awesome. One last piece I want to just on from the technology perspective are screen recording. So a lot of the times we're walking through a scenario, maybe want to record our screen like this, and then maybe put ourselves in the bottom corner to talk through a scenario or talk through a situation. I get that recommendation a lot. It's called Screencast-O-Matic. The silliest name ever, I know, but it's a fantastic software and it's free. So Screencast-O-Matic allows you to record your screen, yourself, or your screen with yourself in the corner, and they do a really good job with that. I love Screencast-O-Matic. Tiny Take is another one. And then Joey, you added another one there as well. QuickTime. You like QuickTime for that?
Yeah, going back to my Apple native apps and software that I have, QuickTime. If you have an iMac or a MacBook, you already have QuickTime, and it makes it really, really easy to record. And if you've never recorded your screen through QuickTime, it's just a quick Google search. It'll tell you 1, 2, 3 is how you do it.
Cool.
And you can record audio if you're doing audio, all that stuff through QuickTime.
That's awesome. And then the last thing, conference calling. So we're going to be doing a lot of that. It's a great way to engage with some of your past customers, your referral partners, whatever that looks like. So we love Zoom. I love Zoom. It's free for one-on-one. It's free. So you can have as many one-on-one conversations with Zoom as you want to. Just go to zoom.us, create a free account, and just add it. You can sync it to your Outlook calendar, your Google Calendar, and you can literally just make any meeting a Zoom meeting by one click. I love utilizing Zoom. They are all of these virtual conferencing technology companies are having a little bit of a lag right now because there's literally millions of people using it. But Zoom seems to be my favorite within the free version.
Yeah, and Google Hangouts is another super popular one as well. So yeah, these are unprecedented times, and I'm sure there are always winners and losers when things happen in the market. And you can bet that these video conferencing companies are big winners with what's going on right now.
Yep. Anything else to add before we close this out, Joey? I think we're over an hour now, so I apologize for going over the timeline. I appreciate you guys jumping on to the Zoom meeting where we're able to do it in Facebook Live. But anything else to close out, Joey?
No, I mean, I think this little tech bug that we went through it's kind of more or less this is what everyone goes through with technology. It's not just about the hurdles that are directly in front of you. It's how you jump the hurdles. It's finding an alternative route. Find a way is what people say. And I mean, even if it's as seemingly as small as having a one-on-one video chat with you It's a big deal for people who are trying to connect. Maybe it's loved ones that haven't seen each other in a long time. Maybe technology is a beautiful thing as long as you leverage it in the right way and you use it to better the people around you, better your professional situation, see the family that you haven't seen in a long time, because we're all hunkered down here together. I would say technology is there more than it's ever been. It's just up to you to go out and grab it, learn a little bit about it. A lot of the stuff that's out there, I think, is plug and play for the most part. A little bit of Google research goes a long way. And just don't let these hurdles keep you from finishing your race. And that race is seemingly never ending, because we always find a new challenge. We always find another hurdle that we can jump. Just don't be the one that stops right there before the hurdle.
I love that. That's awesome. Good way to end it. We will put all of the show notes, the recording, and the content calendar in the event notes. So appreciate everybody jumping on, and we'll do another one here shortly.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
See ya.